When you're younger, life feels simple. You wake up, go to school, see the same people every day, and follow a path that already exists. Someone else decided most of the structure for you. Your schedule, your responsibilities, and even most of the things you worry about are already planned. You complain about homework. You complain about waking up early. You complain about school rules and long days. But even with all those complaints, life has a kind of structure. You always know what comes next. There is another school year, another class, another routine waiting for you tomorrow. Your world is predictable. But something slowly changes when you turn 18. Nothing dramatic happens in that exact moment. The world doesn't suddenly transform overnight. The sun still rises the same way. The streets look the same. The people around you behave the same. But something inside your life quietly begins to shift. And that shift is difficult to describe. Life starts feeling strange. Not necessarily worse, just different. For the first time, the clear path you followed for years starts to disappear. School gave you a direction. Even if you didn't like it, the path was still there. You knew where you were supposed to go every day. But after 18, that path splits into many different directions. Some people go to college, some people start working immediately. Some people move to different cities. Some people travel, and some people stay exactly where they are, unsure of what they should do next. This is where the confusion begins. Because when everyone starts moving in different directions, you begin comparing your life to theirs. You see someone your age who seems confident about their future. Maybe they already chose a career. Maybe they talk about their goals with certainty. Maybe they seem like they have everything figured out. And then you look at yourself, and a quiet question appears in your mind. Why don't I feel like that? Why do I feel lost? This question becomes surprisingly common after 18. But here's something very few people admit. Most people feel the same way. They just hide it. Adulthood often looks confident from the outside. People talk about their plans. They talk about their future. They talk about success and direction. But inside, many of them are still trying to understand their own lives. Because adulthood is not a moment where everything suddenly becomes clear. It's a long process of figuring things out slowly. And during the beginning of that process, confusion is completely normal. Another strange thing that happens after 18 is how friendships begin to change. When you're younger, friendships happen automatically. You see the same people every day in school. You sit in the same classrooms, you eat lunch together, you share experiences without even trying. But adulthood works differently. People become busy. Schedules become unpredictable. Some friends move away. Others start focusing on different goals. Sometimes friendships slowly fade. Not because anyone did something wrong, not because anyone stopped caring, but simply because life moves people in different directions. This can feel lonely at first. You might notice that the group of friends you once saw every day slowly becomes quieter. Conversations become less frequent. Meetings become rare. And sometimes you begin wondering if you're losing people. But something important eventually becomes clear. You're not losing everyone. You're just entering a stage where friendships become more intentional. Instead of being surrounded by many people automatically, you start building fewer but deeper connections. Friendships based on understanding. Friendships based on shared values. These connections often take longer to form, but they are usually stronger. Another strange realization after 18 is discovering that adults are not as certain as they seem. When you're a child, adults appear confident. They seem like they understand everything. They make decisions quickly, they solve problems, they talk about life with authority. From a child's perspective, adults seem like people who have already figured life out. But as you grow older, something surprising happens. You begin noticing that many adults are still learning too. They make mistakes, they change careers, they struggle with decisions, they experience uncertainty. And suddenly you realize something important. Adulthood is not a state of complete knowledge. It's simply a stage where people continue learning while carrying more responsibility. That realization can actually be comforting because it means you are not expected to understand everything immediately. You are allowed to learn. You are allowed to grow. You are allowed to take time. Another reason life feels strange after 18 is the amount of freedom you suddenly gain. Before adulthood, many decisions were made for you. Your schedule was decided, your environment was decided, your responsibilities were often limited. But adulthood introduces something new: choice. At first, that freedom feels exciting. You can choose your direction. You can choose what you study. You can choose where you work. You can choose the kind of life you want to build. But freedom also introduces a new kind of pressure, because when the choices become yours, the responsibility becomes yours too. You start wondering if you're making the right decisions. You worry about wasting time. You worry about choosing the wrong path. But here is something important to remember. Life is rarely decided by a single choice. Many people imagine life like a straight road with only one correct direction. But reality is very different. Life is more like a network of paths. If one direction doesn't work, you can change. You can learn new skills. You can try something different. You can start again. Many people rebuild their lives multiple times. Careers change, cities change, dreams change. And those changes are not failures. They are part of the process. Another reason life feels confusing after 18 is expectations. Society often presents a very specific image of success: a good job, financial stability, clear direction, achievement. But as people grow older, they often realize something surprising. Success is not the same for everyone. Some people feel successful when they build a career. Others feel successful when they find freedom. Some value creativity, some value relationships, some value peace and balance. The challenge of adulthood is not simply achieving success. The real challenge is defining what success means to you personally. And that definition takes time. Many people spend years discovering their values, learning what truly matters to them. And during that process, life often feels uncertain. Another strange moment happens when you realize that most people are not watching or judging you as much as you thought. When you're younger, it feels like every mistake is visible. Every awkward moment feels embarrassing. Every decision feels like it will be remembered forever. But adulthood slowly reveals something interesting. Most people are too busy dealing with their own lives to focus on yours. They are thinking about their own problems, their own goals, their own worries. Once you understand that, something changes. You begin feeling less pressure to appear perfect. You allow yourself to experiment. You allow yourself to make mistakes. And those mistakes become valuable teachers, because mistakes are not signs of failure. They are signs of experience. Every person who eventually becomes confident has made countless mistakes along the way. Another thing people often notice after 18 is how life begins to move faster. When you're younger, time feels slow. Years feel long. Days feel predictable. But adulthood introduces responsibilities: work, bills, schedules, deadlines. And suddenly, weeks begin passing quickly. Months feel shorter. Years seem to move faster than before. This can make life feel overwhelming, but it also reveals something important. Time becomes valuable. You begin understanding that your choices shape your future. The habits you build today influence the life you live tomorrow. And those habits do not need to be dramatic. Small routines often matter more than big moments. Learning something new every day, taking care of your health, improving your skills slowly. These small actions accumulate over time. They shape the direction of your life quietly. Another reason life feels confusing after 18 is identity. For many years, your identity was connected to school. You were a student. Your role was defined. Your environment was predictable. But adulthood introduces a question many people have never considered deeply before. Who am I? What kind of life do I want to build? What matters to me? These questions are not easy to answer. They require reflection. They require experimentation. They require time. And during the process of searching for those answers, life often feels uncertain. But that uncertainty is not a problem. It is a sign that you are exploring. Exploration is one of the most important parts of becoming an adult. You learn about yourself through experience. You learn through challenges. You learn through successes and failures. And gradually, your understanding of yourself becomes clearer. Not perfect, but clearer. Another thing many people realize after 18 is that adulthood is not about having everything under control. It is about learning how to navigate uncertainty. Life will always contain unknowns, unexpected challenges, moments where things don't go according to plan. But resilience grows through those experiences. Every challenge you face builds strength. Every problem you solve builds confidence. And slowly, the strange feeling that once surrounded adulthood begins to fade. Not because life becomes perfectly clear, but because you become more comfortable with uncertainty. You begin trusting your ability to adapt. You trust your ability to learn. And that trust changes the way you see the future. Instead of fearing the unknown, you begin seeing it as opportunity. Opportunity to grow. Opportunity to change. Opportunity to discover something new. And that shift in perspective is one of the most important transformations of adulthood. So, if life feels strange after 18, you are not alone. Almost everyone experiences that feeling. It is the natural result of leaving a structured world and entering an open one. And open worlds always feel confusing at first, but they are also full of possibilities. Possibilities that did not exist before. Possibilities that will shape your future in ways you cannot predict yet. You do not need to understand everything immediately. You do not need a perfect plan. You only need curiosity, patience, and the willingness to keep moving forward. Because adulthood is not about having all the answers. It is about learning how to ask better questions and slowly discovering the answers through experience, one step at a time. And one day, without realizing exactly when it happened, life will start making more sense. Not because everything became easy, but because you became stronger, wiser, more patient with yourself. And you will look back at the confusion you once felt and understand something important. It was never a sign that you were lost. It was simply the beginning of your journey.